All right, guys, we are back once again because the offseason is winding down. All these stories we've been following out throughout this entire offseason, they're finally starting to wrap up. We're starting to answer some questions. We're starting to get closer and closer to what those official 2026 rosters are going to look like. And we have another big story that's been a really, really interesting one throughout this whole offseason that's kind of, coming together a little bit more today. So we have Eros joining us here today to talk all about the craziness that has been going on. Eros, what do you got for us today?
Hello guys, how you doing? How is the day going, Jerm? Mine is kinda shit because I was supposed to get a haircut, but my barber is off, so already my mood is really really bad. But let's try to wrap it up. A really nice video for the people because today we have a really big news coming, which is basically that Giant X has rejected the last offer from Fnatic for June, and he will stay on Giant X for next year. Finally, the drama is over, and June stays on Giant X.
Yeah, I know. Like you said, this has been, some drama. Definitely the right word because it's been
Yeah.
it seems like a really, really crazy thing where there's been some back and forth, and there's been a bunch of times where it seemed like there was no way he was going to end up somewhere else, and then maybe sometimes where it seemed more likely and all that stuff. So, we're now saying that obviously Fnatic fans, I think we're kind of hoping there'd be maybe some way to get some stuff done.
Mhm.
Seems like Fnatic fans haven't really been too excited about the different potential
Yep.
options and rosters and stuff that they've heard. So how close was this thing ever to getting done? Was Fnatic-Jun ever a real option, a real possibility?
Well, for me, man, this move is like as I told you before starting to record, this move is like a Korean drama, because at the beginning, Fnatic made like a low ball offer where Giants were laughing of it and saying, "Okay, June is going to stay. Like, don't even waste your time." And then Fnatic came begging, like, "Come on, please, don't leave me. Give me June. Okay, we're going to make another offer." And Giants was saying, "Poof, but this offer is not enough, so I need more of you. Like a kind of a toxic relationship between two teams, which in the end make us, for example, myself and Gulu, bet on who is going to get June. I was betting on Giant X. Gulu was betting on Fnatic. He's a Fnatic supporter, and definitely in the end seems like I won, because it even though it was a roller coaster since the beginning for Giants, June was really really important, like a really important piece because all the teams has have insane good uh, opinion about June, and he has been playing really really well this year. So definitely he's a top three support on LEC. So the amount you need to pay a team to get rid of a player like June is really really big. We can also share that the last offer made from Fnatic was between 180 and 250k more or less. Uh, so in the end, like Giants rejected it, same as the previous one, which was like 100k. This one was closer to like the to Bocada move, that was one of the biggest surprises last of season. But in the end, seems like June was way more expensive, or at least Giants thought that it was way more expensive in their mind and in their plans. So they definitely pass, and Fnatic now has to choose between all the support options you guys said on the show, right?
Yeah, and I know for a lot of these deals, when Wulu has talked about, teams agreeing on buyouts and agreeing on,
Mm-hmm.
trades or different players exchanging teams or whatever, he keeps always talking about, too, that the player actually has to want to change teams
Yep.
as well. So, I guess the question I would have is like, did June want to leave Giant X? Was June willing to go to Fnatic if they got this thing done? Do we know what his opinions about this whole situation were?
Yeah, well, basically, this also has changed a bit with all these weeks going on and everything. Basically, at the beginning, June was not really hyped about getting back to Fnatic. He talked with Giant X and he told them that if he stays on Giant X will be better for him and all this stuff. And since weeks have been going on, like this memory of playing with Razor, like they did last year on Fnatic, came back to his mind, and he was willing to play with Razor, which seems that he will be staying at Fnatic. So moving to Fnatic for him was not like a big problem, but in the end, he he also wants, like, he understands he has a contract and Fnatic needs to reach an agreement with Giant X for it. So that didn't happen, and I don't think it will be like a really big deal for June. He was happy either staying or leaving.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I just thought it was something interesting because I know, yeah, we've talked about other like buyouts getting done and then players rejecting the deals and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So I know it can get pretty complicated. But like you said too, June is obviously a really talented player, one of the better support options out there. Was there any other teams that were interested in June? Was it just was it going to be Giant X or Fnatic only? Was there anyone else who was maybe trying to get a deal done or asking about June or anything like that?
yeah. Well, at the beginning it was like Team BDS and Navi showed also a little bit of interest in June, but obviously, as I told you before, like you need to make a really really good offer for Giant X to really think about it. And being totally honest, I think like the last Fnatic, like the last offer that Fnatic sent to Giant X was a really good offer, but you also need to take in count like the opportunity cost of leaving June, of getting rid of June now and searching for a new support, being that late in the off season, which won't be that easy, because for example, I think Wulu yesterday turned on his stream and talked about way and hype, and that he chose to go to Misa, which is in the Turkish league, which was one of the options that Giants was looking. But now, as way is done, you need to pay a buyout for Misa, and definitely, like it doesn't make sense for you to sell a player and pay a buyout for another player that hasn't played a single game with that team. So when you think about all of that, in the end, the most sense out of it is to just keep June.
Yeah, I think one more kind of interesting thing from this whole story too is that I know a lot of people. Obviously, we don't know all the specifics and everything like that all the time. Like especially, I'm talking about like fans, Twitter, Reddit, all that stuff. But one of the worries and concerns with Fnatic has always been like budget. Like does Fnatic have enough
Hmm.
money? Is Fnatic willing to spend money? All that stuff. So maybe a little bit surprising to me that Fnatic was able to put out such a big and competitive offer, for June. So hopefully that'll be at least something kind of exciting for Fnatic fans to hear that their team does have some money and they are willing to throw it around and stuff. Obviously, this deal doesn't get done, so it's not like they are actually spending that money, but maybe potentially was
Yeah.
there. But like, is this maybe a sign that Fnatic is willing to be a little bit more aggressive, willing to spend a little bit more money? Can fans have some hope that Fnatic will still end up with a good roster, even though now that they've missed out on another player and the off season's going so slow and stuff like that for them?
I think like the hope is always there because Fnatic is a team who never fail joining Worlds, which is something really significant for, and talks a lot about that team. But for me, the big problem, Germ, is that we are really late into off season. Like if you take all this money, for example, from June's buyout and his salary, and you at the beginning of October, let's say, or mid October, present a formal offer to Busio, for example, which is the support that Carmine Corp has acquired, maybe like you had a chance to fight for him, because the difference that Carmine Corp is paying to Busio, which to be honest is like a big salary, and what Fnatic was willing to pay for buyout plus salary for June, it's not that big, the difference there. So definitely, I think like the money is there and the willing of investing that money seems to be there, but I think the approach of Fnatic for this off season was not the best one.
Yeah, and I think that's like kind of the common sentiment on like I said, Reddit and Discord,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, all over the place. That's what like a lot of Fnatic fans feel like. I mean, when we were on the offseason show talking about how all these other LEC rosters are getting done and Fnatic doesn't even have a single player locked. They had some players that were likely or some players that were trending in that direction or whatever, but to have not only not your full roster completed when a ton of other rosters are done, but not even a single player done yet, like that was really kind of surprising and crazy to people. And you can say, oh, they're taking it slow, they want to be patient, they want to make the right moves, but you could also say like, hey, if every other team's doing it one way and you're doing it a totally different way, maybe you're doing something a little bit wrong here too. I don't know. There's definitely some people who are going to be
Look,
critical of that.
if I can tell people my feeling about this offseason from Fnatic with an example, like a graphic one, will be imagine yourself, you're balding, okay? You're getting bald and you're waiting 2 years, okay? And definitely you lost all your hair. And then you go to the barber and you tell the barber that you want a ponytail. Like it doesn't make any sense. So for me, it's like the same with Fnatic. They waited so much time to make like the decisions and everything that the amount of decisions and the amount of players they can get is not that big now because BDS has their bot lane, for example. Carmine Corp has a new support. Heretics has changed also ADC. So a lot of people took all their decisions way before you, and now you're fucked.